the relationship, the paid relationship ended, I was like, let's still be friends. Like, let's still talk. Reach out to me. Like, and I was like my open invitation, and I didn't hear anything. So then I just sent a soft email. I wasn't attempting to be graspy. And I just got like, thanks. Like, just so simple. And I was like, sadness. Like, what is happening? Why? I thought we were friends. I thought we were building a friendship as a part of working together, going through what we were doing. And I'm seeing like maybe not. And maybe not like in a bigger regard. So what I brought to my coach today was, why? What is this? What is happening? Why am I feeling this way, that I feel so emotionally vested in the clients that I'm working with, but they're not feeling that back? And for her, it seemed like she listened to what I said, she processed what I did, and then she shared with me. In her opinion, it felt really obvious because it was what she'd been sharing with me all along and trying to push me towards, is she feels like I put up a wall and that's only so far, like just tip of the iceberg. Like, okay, I'm opening up the door to my life. Oh, you stuck your foot in? Like, no. Like, you just stay on the front porch. Don't come in my house. And so like that analogy, like, that's what she's saying I'm putting out sometimes in relationship to other people. And so whereas I feel really connected because I get to work with them and they trust me and I get to hear their feelings, she's like, you're not putting that back. And so when the relationship ends, they're like, that was great. I loved working with her. I got so much out of it, but now it's just done. What do you mean we would be friends? We're not friends. This was transactional. And I'm just processing what that means, because in my mind, this love that I feel like holding space and being there for my clients, like I feel at a loss when that's over. And so I'm trying to understand what she means when she says that deeper connection, because for her level of connection and how she views people and interacts with people, I already see is very different than how I do it. So I have to process this through my own lens, my own perception here, to see what this means for me. Another example of part of what came out of my conversation today, as I'm breaking this down, and the reason I'm sharing this before I have it all fully figured out is because for me, this is me being open with you and letting you see a real side of myself that isn't fully figured out, isn't like beautifully glossed over, and isn't that A+ quality of what I like to represent and show. It's part of my mentality. It was how I was brought up. And I think that so much of my value is attached to, I have to look and be like quality, perfection, A+ student in this mentality of how I present myself. And what I'm trying to accept, what I'm trying to hear from my coach, and what I'm processing is maybe that deeper connection doesn't come from me just showing you the best side of myself, but comes from showing you the rougher parts that I'm still processing through. And what it is to work through these thoughts and these emotions. And your journey may not look like mine. You may not process in the same way that I'm processing, but you at least seeing the evidence of what is, because there are so many people that I follow, that I listen to on a regular basis, or I have paid and done trainings with, and I'm like, they are so exceptional. And they say, hey, this is me here. I was where you were. And I get that. But at the same time, I don't get that, because I end up putting myself back to, okay, I need to show up top of my game, like being here, and not acknowledging all the mess and all the heartache and just the process of becoming better all the time. Because honestly, we are human beings. We are flawed. We are broken. We are imperfect. And that's a great thing, because that's always allowing us this opportunity to up level, to grow, to deepen, to become better versions of ourselves, to embrace how God has made us. He crafted us in his identity being perfect. And we are always going to be working and striving towards that. There's always going to be something now that we understand better and deeper, and we are able to process at a deeper level. So when I've talked about the leadership lens, that applies here because it's how we see the things in our lives. And when I've talked about you being able to be open with your team and be able to connect with them without having to take on their emotions, that applies here too. And so me being open and just showing you an example of like what this looks like while I'm processing, because honestly, coming off of that call today with her, here's how I felt. I felt like this well underneath my eyes. I'm not an easy crier. I've never been. That's not how I was brought up. That's not a part of who I am. But I could feel this well and just like stress inside of my head because I was like, there's so much discomfort in what she's saying and like how we are processing this emotion, the questions that she was asking me and like to help me dig deeper. I also was like having to close my eyes just to kind of take it in and just to feel it. And I just felt heavy. It felt raw. It felt miserable. Like I didn't want to sit in it. I didn't want to address this. And why I'm sharing this, what value this brings to you is that it's there. It's when we are willing to expose the emotions that make us feel like that and understand why they're there, what it's feeling, to know that we can survive. That was my thing, is I was thinking, okay, it's just a feeling. The feeling is not going to be what takes me down. I can sit with this. I can be okay. I am safe. Like I had to acknowledge this for myself. I am in a safe space as I'm processing this. Nothing bad is happening to me, even though I feel miserable. Like, can I give myself the space and the grace to explore why I feel miserable? What is it that I feel like it's holding me back? And so what I want to challenge you is that as you are stepping into roles, as you are deepening the impact and the influence that you already have, it's about that connection and that relatability that other people have with you that helps them to understand the influence, the impact, the profound changes and the value. Part of your true value that you create in the world has nothing to do with what you do, the results you create, but just by how you are able to show up, to influence, to make a difference. And what does that come down to? That comes down to connection. That comes down to how you relate in your own emotions, the energy that you're putting off that either repels or attracts people and builds up the team around you. Why do I struggle from time to time in different relationships? Why do I not have a single coworker from 20 years of work life that I ever made a friendship with? And it's partly because of my view, my take. So my energy I brought into the relationship was, I was hired to do a thing. I show up, I do said thing. Am I polite and kind to people as I see them? Yes. But am I there to have conversations? Am I there to talk to them? Like there was a point I would have answered no. Like if we're in a meeting and we're talking about this, yes, but I'm going to get in trouble if I am caught talking to somebody. That was my take on it. And then as I build up other relationships and I got better about like, hey, it's okay. We're allowed to have friends at work and have this relationship. This is part of how you build a team. I thought about that. So I can remember like one of my past jobs, this connectivity. And I remember as I announced that I was leaving and somebody said, oh, well, we'll have to like make sure we do this and and she was so emotionally invested and she is a very friendly person saying this to me with all the kindness in her heart. I heard it and I received it and I was like, that is wonderful. But I guarantee we're not going to be friends out of work. And she was like, what? Why? And she was so upset. And there were other people in the room and they were like, what are you saying, Stefanie? And I'm like, all of you are wonderful. I enjoy being around all of you here at work. I know this. But I have never in all of my life had a relationship outside of work that when I leave that job that has ever lasted. I said, I'm in on trying, but I really don't believe it's ever going to happen. Well, what do you think happened? Because I am the core of if that is going to exist. If they're going to be able to be friends with me, I have to believe that I can be friends with them. And if I don't believe that, it's not going to work out. And that's been a few years since I've had that particular job. And yeah, like I feel like I could call up one of them maybe. It would probably be like, oh, hi, how are you? Like long time. But like, I don't know that we would pick up like where we left off, because those relationships to me just naturally fizzled out because we didn't have the container to maintain that. I don't know. This is what I'm working on as far as trying to understand, why do I do this? Because there are other people in the world. This does not have to be my reality, because this isn't a true fact. This is truth as I have seen it thus far, but this isn't true for everybody, because there are plenty of people who are like, I still am besties. I still hang out with people I worked with 20 years ago and we still get together. Or all my college roommates and I, we still talk and get together. And I'm like, okay, I don't have that. Like I have friends in the moment, and then when they're gone, they're gone. And I've just had to come to learn how to accept that this is. And see, here's what I'm challenging you to see, is that was my perspective. That's my lens on the world. And so if I don't expect relationships to last outside of work, I'm making them purely transactional, then that's why too, in client relationships, there's that transaction and then we're not friends afterwards. So what's the common denominator? Because it's been all kinds of people and all kinds of circumstances. What's the common thread here? It's me and how I'm thinking about it. That's just what happens. Friends don't stay around. People don't want to be friends with me outside of work. Whatever it is, however I want to identify that thought, I've got to dig and I've got to find that, and I got to know, why have I lived the first 40 years of my life in this way, and how do I want to live the next? How do I want to keep approaching this? Because honestly, now that I'm starting to examine some things, I'm like, I wish I had some of these friends that have been so amazing throughout the years. I wish I still had connections and relationships with them. And I long to have the impact that I'm having in coaching with clients. I long to see those blossom into friendships. That seems really amazing to me. But at the same time, the other half of my brain is like, that's not possible. So I want to ask you, what do you think is not possible? What are you holding on to as truth in your life that you got to take a moment and realize that's the big thing I'm doing right now? Do you see that? I'm realizing this is not the truth. This has been my truth I've lived out. I see evidence of that. But this is not a pure fact across the board for everybody. So what do I want to do about it? And that, my friend, if you don't know this yet, is the power of coaching, is taking time to explore, to find these thoughts, the emotions you're feeling, and to process through them. Sometimes you might do that in a single session. Sometimes it might be like what I'm working through. It's deep, it's long-lived, it's been something I've held on to for a long time. So to say I'm going to wrap that up in a session or two, like, no. Like, I'm going to give myself no judgment, no pressure for how I need to respond to this. What it is just to keep breaking down, like chiseling away to see what could be. And so understanding, like as you're thinking at this too, like go back to the thread about connectivity. And how do you connect with those around you? How are you letting people in? How are you opening up? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because this is something I need to hear more thoughts about. I need to understand for myself to be able to bring this in and manifest this, to create this in my own life that I don't have to keep living with that same truth that we're friends while we're working, but after that, it's just over. And then I'm just facing, do you see, it's kind of like all these mini breakups in my life that I carry around, all these lost relationships. There's a lot of pain that comes with that. Because I'm just like, wow, doesn't anybody stay? And that's a big part of what I'm working to achieve so that I can connect at a deeper level. I'm obviously not willing to connect at a deeper level if I think everybody's going to go. I do know that. That is a part of my process for me trying to figure this out. So thank you for letting me purge my thoughts, so to speak, instead of having this so formalized in a way that I'm, having a great teaching moment, but just like allowing me to explore this in a way. And I'm being vulnerable here, but I would welcome your feedback on if you want more of this, because this is me being a little risky right now, putting this out here and seeing, what do you think? Like, is this beneficial for you to hear the raw side of this half of my brain as I'm processing through this? Does this help you? Is this helping you to see what is possible for you? Because that is what I strive to do, is to be an example. And I think I had to be an example by showing you the good half. Do you want to see the messy half too? So drop me a note. Let me know what your thoughts are. I would really appreciate that. You have an amazing and wonderful day.